Hi, welcome to your weekly energy report for the week of the 18th of October. I don't know how it's possible that it's the 18th of October, but it is. So, I'm not sure how you have been feeling, but Saturn is now direct. The 18th, which for me, recording this is tomorrow, is the day that Jupiter and Mercury turn direct. So that's actually some positive news, but all of these planets going direct also basically mean that there is a huge push of energy that is thrusting us forward outside of where we've been perhaps very internalized in our process over the last, let's say, 4 to 6 months. And it was like that. This summer was very much like that. I felt like, I was busy, I'm sure you were too, but at the same time there was a lull in that busyness, almost as if there was certain stuff put on hiatus while we processed a lot of things in preparation for the shit show of activity that is now upon us. That can be physical, mental, however it expresses itself in your life. But basically, with Saturn direct now, you're looking at all of the control mechanisms, all of the keepers of time in your life, all of the delineations of space in your life suddenly being reinforced in this new energy. And Jupiter expands on all of that. So, and Mercury, communication, infrastructure, all of these aspects of the more directive aspects of our lives. That's also, we've had these last couple of weeks, few weeks to focus our attention on crossing our T's and dotting our I's, revisiting where there may have been a little bit of residual confusion or a need for more clarity. For example, in my life, because my former counterpart is no longer with us, it's been like, non-stop action, but at the same time I've been having to not only integrate my own process in the role that I'm in, but also make sure that there was a lot of backpedaling in terms of the transitional failures with a sudden departure. Departures are also of the essence. Personally, as somebody who I've known for a very, very long time and who was very integral and pivotal in my life in my 20s, left us physically last week, which, it hits home. Obviously, it's always difficult emotionally to... I actually have a very Zen approach to people departing, but nonetheless, it brings up a lot of context, emotional context, and textures that we take for granted when we know that somebody is still around, even if we don't necessarily see them or communicate with them all the time. Of course, given what we explore together, we have more reassurances and insights into the fact that death is just a portal, but it's always a reminder that we have to get on with things. We have to make sure that we are fulfilling our purpose and feeling fulfilled by what we do. And a lot of this week's reading, I have a feeling, is going to be about, it's centered around the full moon energy. The full moon is on Wednesday for us in the, here in North America and Europe. I think it probably, for those of you in Australia, it may be Tuesday late. or somewhere around there. Anyway, I digress. So the full moon energy, full moon in Aries, that's a individuation push, combined with all of this forward thrusting energy, combined with some pretty intense squares involving Chiron, Mars, Neptune. We've got a lot of very intense energy underlining all of the new forward movement of these planets. So I would expect it to be one of those weeks where it's important to ground ourselves in order not to feel overwhelmed. Personally, I'll be traveling this coming week, and so I haven't traveled in quite some time due to the pandemic. Certainly not for more than a day trip. So I have to adjust a lot of things in my life because I'm suddenly like, I'm acting as though nothing's happening, and the reality is that when I travel in 2 days' time, I'm not going to have had any personal time to sort things out on my end. I'm all focused on my work and like getting my boss together and for the trip, and getting the logistics of the trip organized, and meetings and blah 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 blah, accommodation, all those things. And I'm like, oh, I don't really have the luxury of procrastinating. So here I am in my allotted hour for our weekly. With the full moon in Aries, it's and Saturn turning direct, and Jupiter turning direct, and Mercury turning direct. I think that we're going to have a very strong push forward in a positive way for us. I have no idea how that's going to play out, but the cards will give us a little bit of insight into that. A lot of it, I think, is going to be about integrating fun, a sense of purposefulness and adventure into our very busy diaries. Making sure that we step into the full empowerment of our minds where that is useful. Of course, we spend so much time talking about removing our minds from the spiritual process so as not to allow that to get in our way. But when we are functioning in the 3D world, particularly professionally speaking, we kind of have to use our minds wisely. So there are messages about, in fact, we have a message about that. I will just go right into that. I believe that's an indication that I should just get started, because our spirit animal oracle card of the week is Pig Spirit, number 47. Use your mind wisely. On the nose. So, let's read Pig Spirit's message and protection message for us. Pig Spirit appears to remind you of the right use of intelligence, a gift we all have that is meant to be used with love, compassion, and discernment. Intelligence means recognizing the value of intuition, partnered with smarts and common sense, which leads to intelligent solutions. When Pig Spirit appears, you are called to respect your analytical mind and use it for the highest good, recognizing all facts must be considered even when they do not fit with what you already know. Spirit blesses us with wisdom when we allow Pig Spirit to nudge us into open-minded, thoughtful dialogues, whether with others or internally, as we mull over ideas and what we have come to understand. You are intelligent and capable of clear-minded thinking, shaped by the wisdom you have accumulated and the intuition that will tell you when you have more learning to do, because not all facts are in. Now is a time that your decision-making powers are reliable, for you are in alignment with Pig Spirit's keen intelligence. And what I would add to that is, when we are in mindfulness and flow, even when we're overwhelmed with activity, we have faith that we are guided and that we will, even a mistake or something forgotten or whatever, it's a fine-tuning process. It's reminding our brain that, oh, we have to be aware of that, we have to stay focused on this, whatever it may be. That's why I say this is going to be a very mentally challenging week. But when I say mentally challenging, I do not mean necessarily in terms of, emotional angst or anything. I just mean that we're going to have to stay very clear. So, if you're a person, for example, that indulges at all, you won't want to do that this coming week. You're going to have to stay on the straight and narrow, focused. Give yourself time to breathe, even if it's only a couple of minutes of meditation or 20, 30 minutes of cardio every day, because that's also a breathing exercise, keeps your heart rate and your breath in alignment. These are very important things to do when we want our mind to function at full capacity, and of course sleep if you can manage that. But I'm still teetering on the edge of figuring that one out. The protection message of Pig Spirit. Are you ruminating, turning thoughts around and around in your head but not getting nearer to a solution or a decision? Pig Spirit is here to protect you from analysis paralysis. Let your mind rest now and allow your intelligence to mingle with the mysteries of intuitive guidance, releasing your tight hold on facts and unsolved puzzles, whether it be a relationship or any other aspect of your life. So here we have, it sounds like an antithesis, but it really isn't. It's directly in correlation with what we were just discussing, where it's really about giving yourself the tools to stay mindful through self-care. That's the balance that's required. The rest will take care of itself. In fact, now might be a good time to think about something else altogether and release your grip on needing to know. So maybe a timeout, that's what I mean. You've got to step away when there's a lot of mental function. You sometimes have to give yourself the chance to step away from that. I feel myself doing that all the time because I can feel that sense of being overwhelmed with thought and processing and scheduling and multiple agendas and different people's priorities and trying to figure out how to stay on top of all that. And sometimes I feel like my brain has too much, there's too much going on in it, and I have to just kind of laugh and throw my hands up and just be like, you know what, hey, excuse me, I need more sleep. I need a couple of hours, a couple of minutes. I wish it could be a couple of hours, but more like a couple of minutes to just go with the flow. Take a break, relax, and release the ball of worry. Soon, the smart choice will become clear to you. More facts may be needed, more digging for information, and more questioning. When seeking to learn more, enjoy the process of using your thinking prowess. All the elements of your intelligence are reliably guiding you now once you've given your mind a rest. Well, I can see exactly how that will play out. So not really a need for further clarification on that. I say that even though I did nothing but talk throughout, so I guess I did take care of that. Here is, what should we do? The Sufi Wisdom card is coming up next for us. Willpower. Improve your willpower to reduce your stress level. Why does this card look like a vagina to me? I don't know. Clearly I don't see a lot of them. Let's see. Willpower. Improve your willpower to reduce your stress level. Interesting. From Hafiz. Show me your face so I would be free from desire to see the roses. Stand tall so I would see nothing but you, the lofty cypress of my garden. No matter how much you hurt me, Hafiz would never turn away from you, for I found my freedom the moment I became a captive of your love. Interesting, I'm not really sure how that fits in, but let's see. A life-changing moment has come to you in the fire of transformation and is calling you to say yes to love with your full will and conscious awareness. Remember, love means many, many things. It's a state of mind and a way of functioning. Hafiz is here to free your heart from temptation by guiding you to see the beauty of the beloved. When your heart shines with courageous love, you will have the capacity to override unwanted thoughts, feelings, or impulses. By surrendering to love, you will have the willpower to resist short-term gratification in pursuit of long-term goals. When loving becomes your habit, it draws little, if any, willpower from you and frees up more of your energy for other things. Dear one, you are at a crucial point in your life. It is time to make a choice about your reason for being and what your life will stand for. Well, a lot of these planetary shifts right now really do reinforce that sense of, that we've had the time, again, like we were saying earlier, to kind of ruminate and to process things internally, and now it's like the moment of commitment. We're moving into we are in that last decan of Libra. That's where it all manifests before we move into Scorpio at the end of this week, in the process of this week, should I say, and then we'll be on to a whole new willpower mixed with mysticism and loftier, higher spiritual aspirations. So hang on to your hats. Where was I? If you feel that stress and normal self-control have depleted your resources, it's because you only have so much willpower. Let's see what options you have for increasing the pool of willpower you can draw from. And I actually can tell you that has been happening to me firsthand as well, because I have had these moments where I'm like, I can't do this. This is so overwhelming. It's like I never have any time to process anything or think. It is about willpower. And it's about reminding yourself, as a person that's, bounced back from extreme mental strife to the point of it causing my nervous system to go haywire. I know that if you stay mentally self-aware and you ground yourself on a daily basis, no matter what comes your way, you can overcome it and you can integrate it and you can win it over, and you can use it as fuel. The Oracle is a guide for you to manage your stress levels by spreading love, so you can increase your ability to resist pressure from others to follow a path not right for you. Being under high levels of stress means your body's energy is used up in acting impulsively and making decisions based on short-term outcomes. Self-affirmation can help you be more confident and have more self-control when you're running out of energy. And the mantra of the week is, I can manage my stress levels and direct my willpower to follow love. And that's definitely one of those things that we have to think about, because willpower and love don't necessarily seem like they are harmonious with one another. So we have to think about what that means to us. I have to. I understand it, I think, in an abstract way. Okay, so more oracle cards. We have these two. Voyage and Adventures. Now obviously not everyone is going on a voyage, but that can be the start of a new voyage in our life, on our life path, right? So I'm going to read the voyage card just because who knows, like, what the humpback whale has to tell us. That is what's on this card. Get ready, you are about to embark on a journey. It might be an inner sojourn or an outer voyage to a distant land. It might be a project or idea that is coming to life, but most certainly you are an intrepid traveler sallying forth into the unknown. Where do you want to go? What have you always wanted to do or be? This is the time to make it happen. Get prepared. Have a clear vision of what you want to experience, but also be prepared for the unexpected. That is part of the exhilaration of being a traveler. Remember to enjoy the journey as much as reaching the destination. Probably the wisest words that we will ever hear on this life path, right? Enjoy the journey. Don't just focus on the destination. And that is the problem even for me in terms of my own personal stress management because that's what I do. I'm so focused on like getting things crossed off of a list, which is mostly up here or on multiple phones, and, yes. And let's see what adventure has to say, because these go hand in hand. So take this as a clarifier on that event, on that voyage message. Something exciting is around the corner. You are entering a new frontier filled with expansive energy. Begin to look at your world in new and different ways. Something that you thought was mundane, or someone who you may have overlooked, will open the door to new opportunities and a bigger and bolder way of living. Be willing to see the world around you in new ways. Don't be lulled into complacency. This card appears when you're ready to remove your blinders and take action so life doesn't become stagnant and lackluster. It also can signify incredible spiritual attunement and spiritual voyages. So maybe that's it. Maybe it's actually a spiritual voyage. Maybe it's a new leveling up of some sort. You know, I certainly feel as though we've integrated and assimilated the current energies of, you know, the chaos of the last 2 years and more for many of us. But, you know, specifically to look at a more microcosmic aspect of time and space, I would say, you know, it really does feel that maybe since May of this year, we were in a very specific energy, and now we have graduated beyond that, so we have to be open for the new spiritual energy coming in. And I'm very excited about that, as long as it's not draining. No, we can't put conditions on these things, right? But you know what I mean. I mean, honestly, oh God. Okay. Did I do them all? Oh, I did take one from the Wisdom of the Oracle deck, which is just a little extra narrative for us by the book. No, I'm not even reading from this, but I know exactly what this means. Pay attention to details, stick to the rules, follow protocols. You know, when there's so much going on, which we've clearly gotten an indication that there will be, and certainly I can attest to that being the case in my own life, it's important to follow protocols, to have systems in place, to stick to the system, because when you're working against that, it just means that you're creating more turmoil and more strife and chaos for yourself to have to navigate. And when we're younger and more naive, we tend to gravitate towards that because it seems more exciting. But as we mature, we come to understand that that is actually a great failing of youth that we must overcome, because it's about control again, right? It's like create chaos so that you feel that you're the one, like, you know, create the problems and then resolve it. You're in control, but basically all you've done is make your life 10 times more complicated. Enjoy the ride. Okay, our underlying energy of the week, we have the 8 of Pentacles. It couldn't be more reinforced in the idea of work, craft, discipline, focus, streamlining. Use your mind wisely, do things by the book, but enjoy the ride, because it's for your own expansion, right? And the underlying energy was clarified by inner voice. So I will read inner voice for us, because it will give us the idea of the underlying energy of the week ahead. And then, of course, we will have the cards at the end. Well, actually, I have clarifiers on all of these. We'll see how that works. Okay. Inner voice 2. I think that's the Empress, so I think I can't remember anymore. Let's just see what inner voice has to tell us about how we function in this week. The inner voice speaks not in words, but in the wordless language of the heart. It is like an oracle who only speaks the truth. If it had a face, it would be like the face of the center of this card. Alert, watchful, and able to accept both the dark and the light, symbolized by the 2 hands holding the crystal. The crystal itself represents the clarity that comes from transcending all dualities. The inner voice can also be playful, as it dives deep into the emotions and emerges again to soar towards the sky like 2 dolphins dancing in the waters of life. So it's also the chariot processes here and the temperance process. It is connected with the cosmos through the crescent moon crown and the earth as represented by green leaves on the figure's kimono. There are times in our life when too many voices seem to be pulling us this way and that. Our very confusion in such situations is a reminder to keep silence and centering within. Only then are we able to hear our truth. So again, it comes down to that willpower and focus on love. If you have found your truth within yourself, there is nothing more in this whole existence to find. Truth is functioning through you. When you open your eyes, it is truth opening his eyes. When you close your eyes, it is truth who is closing its eyes. This is a tremendous meditation. If you can simply understand the device, you don't have to do anything. Whatever you are doing is being done by truth. You are walking, it is truth. You are sleeping, it is truth resting. You are speaking, it is truth speaking. You are silent, it is truth in silence. This is one of the most simple meditation techniques. Slowly, slowly, everything settles by the simple formula, and then there is no need for technique. When you are cured, you throw away the meditation, you throw away the medicine. Then you live as truth, alive, radiant, contented, blissful, a song unto yourself. Your whole life becomes a prayer without any words, or better to say, a prayerfulness. A grace, a beauty which does not belong to our mundane world, a ray of light coming from the beyond into the darkness of our world. So interestingly, we start our energy of where we're coming out of. We have these 2 cards together. The Page of Swords and the 3 of Swords. So what this indicates is that, the Page of Swords is a student of thought, a student of philosophy, a student of new ways of shaping mindfulness. The 3 of Swords, of course, is when we are caught in our egoic sense of loss, determination to defend ourselves because we are so entrenched in the chaos of heartbreak, heartache, rejection, abandonment, all of the lower frequency trauma elements. So we're learning, or we have been learning, this journey that I've been talking about since May, this particular time frame that we're talking about. This is what we've been accomplishing. It may also have been more so the case in the last week for you. I certainly know that even though I haven't had time to be very spiritually mindful in the process of doing the mundane tasks of my work life or whatever, I do have an acute awareness that I've seen this very broad shift in myself as to how I respond to things. As soon as I feel those ego triggers, I may even have those desires to push back, to be, I get a little sassy, sometimes in my mind, because I'm overwhelmed, and what it really triggers in me is the feeling that I'm not good enough. If I fail, or if I am not able to live up to expectations that are being put upon me, then it's my whole ego that crumbles. And that's just a construct. That's just something that I have lived by, based upon fear, based upon conditioning, based upon not, the way that I've responded to things in the past that goes back to my childhood trauma, as it will in your case or anybody else listening, that would hear this kind of a message. It's like then that journey of moving through that and actually acknowledging how that holds us back, how that gets in our way, how it actually doesn't allow us to grow if we automatically default into defensiveness, into closing down, into seeing the other as the enemy. They may be an asshole, but how we respond to it, how we integrate that into our own life process, the amount of space we give that emotionally, those are things that we have sovereignty over. And there's a strong emphasis on us learning that, which may be the spiritual upgrade that we're about to experience, is being able to go out into the world and actually have those experiences of growth and expansion and challenge in the chaos without the need to compare. Again, I'm not going to read this card, but the reminder of this is the actual clarifier that we got from the Asha Zen deck. And what is the comparison card? It's the Five of Swords in this deck, I believe. Yes. And so you have the oak tree and you have bamboo. And, if you're in the position in your life where you compare yourself, say you're a bamboo and you're comparing yourself to oak, you're not the same at all. You could serve the same function, but the oak has its sturdy, age-enforced strength. Bamboo has its flexibility, and a different type of strength through flexibility. It's a yin-yang process, again, to understand. Again, we live in this, it is the end of the patriarchy in broader strokes right now. Of course, it's going to take a long time for that shift to really evolve spiritually and then tangibly, but we see that process taking place. But it's not so that suddenly we can move into an era where the feminine rules over the masculine. It is about finally aspiring to coming to an integration of both within, that we understand that we are 50-50 split, divine masculine, divine feminine. Your sex organ does not define your spiritual identity. I mean, we've all been brainwashed into thinking that it does, especially in our increasingly pornographied, dissociative existence. Certainly in my lifetime, that has evolved drastically. But that's just a ruse. It's all a scam, It's a con. Every construct of our society as we see it that is not built on love, care, sharing, nurturing, integration is a con. The division is there, programmed into us by media, government, corporations, for specific purposes, to keep us all in a state of chaos, so that we cannot bandy together, so that we cannot find integrity. So those are the shifts, And the reality is that we're so weaponized because most people are like, well, fuck that, because I don't want to, like, if that means that I'm going to have to change something and I'm going to have less of what I have now, then, that can become frustrating to people. They're like, well, I don't want less. That's what's happening in the United States and probably in many other countries right now, where, the political divide has become so weaponized and so fundamental to cultural identity that we're on the verge of people pushing for secession and splitting of a nation, like a civil war essentially. And that 20 years ago that would have been hard to really understand, mostly because, again, like all feudal systems, the disenfranchised, the people that were in the poorer states, were very often, they didn't really have a voice, particularly not in the mainstream media, and as in a certain way, social media democratized things in a different way, where it like sort of gave people more visibility and more of a sense of at least a platform to express needs and differences. This then in turn became highly volatile, and this split is really about never being able to understand that the commonality is actually what drives us forward. And that's always what happens, and then it leads to war, and then because war is unsustainable and so destructive that the human heart wins out in the end, short of total annihilation. And then we reconstruct on better principles. And I can't help but feel that that's most likely going to happen again in our lifetime, perhaps sooner than we would like to think. And, well, again, let's enjoy the journey, because there's a lot to be enjoyed on that path, even if it is scary sometimes, and particularly for those people that are very, still very infantilized, and I need no judgment in saying this, but it is kind of true that, when people are in the position where they've never individuated from family and so on and so forth, they're just playing out the role of being a child for the rest of their life. It doesn't, people live in dread of, like, losing mommy and daddy, or, like losing their partner or whatever it may be. And it's like, well, you're placing all that outside of yourself. If you don't accept the fundamental truth of the cycle of life, then and I'm not saying that's easy. I mean, we have to work on that constantly. Spirituality is the tool to coming into alignment with that concept, that notion of truth integrated into our existence. Again, I digress a lot here, but this is part of what this message is. At the very center of our reading, we have a very clear message. The world. The world is an ending. But the world is also a beginning. And even though this is highly unorthodox, what I'm about to do, based on what we would normally do, I'm going to read the Osho. We had this card very recently too. I'm going to read the Osho Zen card that corresponds to the world, because I think that we need the big picture clarification on this. That's why there's no clarifying cards for it. I'll hold it up because it is a beautiful card. Here, the last piece of a jigsaw puzzle is being put into its place, the position of the third eye, the place of inner perception. In an ever-changing flow of life, there are moments in which we come to a point of completion. In these moments, we are able to perceive the whole picture, the composite of all the small pieces that have occupied our attention for so long. In the finishing, we can either be in despair because we don't want the situation to come to an end, or we can be grateful and accepting of the fact that life is full of endings and new beginnings. Whatever has been absorbing your time and energy is now coming to an end. In completing this, you will be clearing the space for something new to begin. Use this interval to celebrate both the end of the old and the coming of the new. This is the way of Zen, not to say things to their completion. This has to be understood. It's very important methodology. Not to say everything means to give an opportunity to the listener to complete it. All answers are incomplete. The master has only given you a direction. By the time you reach the limit, you will know what is going to remain. This way, if somebody is trying to understand Zen intellectually, he will fail. It is not an answer to the question, but something more than the answer. It is indicating the very reality. The Buddha nature is not something far away. Your very consciousness is Buddha nature, and your consciousness can witness these things which constitute the world. The world will end, but the mirror will remain, mirroring nothing. So again, nothing is a synonym for love in Zen philosophy. Because when you strip down to the truth, there can only be love. You know, darkness cannot really exist in the truth, because the fact of the matter is that, you know, in embracing the truth, light flows, so darkness is eliminated, right? I know that's very abstract, but think about it and see how that fits your belief system or your experience. Okay, our outcome, which is maybe what you're most interested in, I have to get in this energy because I remember feeling it when I was pulling the cards and we got this combination. The Seven of Cups and the Chariot. Now, the Seven of Cups is really a very strong egoic card. It's emotions, but like basically it's like, it's a lot of it is about distraction. A lot of it is about when we're not in alignment with our truth. We can see multiple options on the horizon, particularly in the material realm, that, you know, each choice, you know, ostensibly represents a different dimensionality of experience. I mean, you could make, you know, you could be, like, let's say you have a new job, a new home, and a new lover. You know, I mean, hopefully you don't have all three of those things. But I mean, that could be exciting if you did, I suppose. I mean, it'll be a lot, but, you know. You know, you could pick one and not the other, or pick two and not one. You know, all these multitudes of possibilities that would ostensibly change your life and how you experience the choices you make. But if you're doing any of those things out of love for what you do, for who you do it with, etc., then, as with the Lover's card versus the Devil card, there is no choice. It's an illusion of choice. So in this case, the Seven Cups, that's an illusion of like the multitudes of emotional possibilities that we have in our head, that we may think to ourselves like, oh, I want to be fulfilled sexually, I want to be fulfilled romantically, I want to be fulfilled like I feel like I'm being taken care of, I want to feel like my indulgence is fulfilled, that my, you know, all these egoic constructs as well, you know, being fulfilled. And that would take us out of alignment. When we are in our divine masculine and feminine flow, the feminine flows into the Chariot and makes the divine masculine move forward. You know, the feminine is not visible in this card because the feminine is everything around it, the fuel to this drive. That is like the conscious and subconscious mind, you know. The subconscious mind we could call the feminine. It is the inner emotional processing of the experience that then comes out into the masculine, tangible path forward, action, Mars versus Venus, right? It all ties in together. So we have a clearance of that in this experience with this ending. You know, we move from letting go, we've been in our learning mode about our thoughts, our ideas, our philosophy. We've stepped out of the egoic need for comparison to be in a sense of lack, essentially, when we're in comparison mode, which is what has caused all this pain to stay, that was informing our path in the past. This came to an end so that we can move beyond this false sense of choice into strong forward movement, harnessing forward movement that is expansive and allows us to grow for our own benefit, but also for the benefit of the purpose that we serve here on Earth. 2 clarifiers came out in order to give us a sense of what, again, we are letting go of and what we are moving into in this energy. And they essentially represent all the energies that we've seen so far. We're leaving behind the outsider because this is in reverse. And I should actually emphasize before I get into that, when these came out, the 7 of Cups was upright and the Chariot was in reverse, or vice versa, it was unclear. But I think it was meant to, whichever way it was there to remind us that one cannot, one gets in the way of the other. Either way, when you're in this state of mind of egoic options, which gives a false sense of empowerment, there can be no Chariot energy because you're going to ground yourself in egoic struggles, which then prevents spirit from flowing through you. And you just have to have more lessons, more karmic lessons to push you to make that Chariot upgrade, right? If it was the other way around, that you were in Chariot energy, this could not exist. You wouldn't even see it because you'd be focused on the 1 cup, the Ace of Cups, right? So the outsider is another reminder, because this is the 5 of Pentacles. This is poverty consciousness. So again, it's the sense of separateness. It's the being completely outside of the idea of oneness of the universe, the laws of the universe. It is, when we're not in flow with the laws of the universe, we naturally feel trapped, imprisoned, cut off from source, because we are cut off from source, because we're not accepting the laws of the universe. Again, the laws of the universe are not these stringent, awful, restrictions put upon us. They're so fundamental that you don't even have to be conscious of them. They're just built into us, really. And then when we don't follow those laws, shit happens to us, Which again, I sneer at that the truth of the matter is, it's not a bad thing. Because that's how we learn. That's how we grow and evolve. That's what we're supposed to do in each lifetime. It's all perfection. So we're moving away from that outsider energy into this. And could those 2 cards be any different? Take a look at that. To move into this headspace after looking out at what we cannot have, what we do not think we have access to, when what we really realize is that the answer is always within. And of course, this is a child, so the idea is that this is our inner child, our broken inner child, that holds us back from having this deeper understanding. So let's read the Harmony card. The experience of resting in the heart in meditation is not something that can be grasped or forced. It comes naturally as we grow more and more in tune with the rhythms of our own inner silences. The figure on this card reflects the sweetness and delicacy of this experience. The dolphins that emerge from the heart and make an arc towards the third eye reflect the playfulness and intelligence that comes when we are able to connect with the heart and move into the world from there. Let yourself be softer and more receptive now, because an inexpressible joy is waiting for you just around the corner. Nobody else can point it out to you, and when you find it, you won't be able to find the words to express it to others. But it's there, deep within your heart, ripe and ready to be discovered. And who needs to discuss it with others or have it understood by others? I mean, it's a feeling and it's a state of mind, so you're going to radiate it regardless. And those that are open and enlightened to that are going to carry it through with you, and find it'll actually enhance that within themselves. That's how it works, right? We are a hive. Listen to your heart, move according to your heart, whatsoever the stake. A condition of complete simplicity costing not less than everything. To be simple is arduous, because to be simple costs everything that you have. You have to lose all to be simple. That's why people have chosen to be complex, and they have forgotten how to be simple. We talked about that a little earlier, right? That is that Seven of Cups energy. But only a simple heart throbs with God, hand in hand. Only a simple heart sings with God in deep harmony. To reach to that point, you will have to find your heart, your own throb, your own beat. And I guess the way to get there is through willpower, using our mind wisely, remember the inner voice message. And on the journey we have adventures to be integrated, which is what the Chariot really is. Okay, I think that was all pretty self-explanatory. It was a beautiful message, perhaps more abstract than we're accustomed to at the moment, but maybe that's another sign of this new leveling up. This is an introduction to a whole new chapter of spiritual experiences. Okay. I wish you a fantastic week to come. May you find your rhythm, and may you not be overwhelmed, and may you enjoy every minute of it, reminding yourself that chaos and confusion are just a state of mind, and that you can always ground yourself and ask Spirit for help and guidance. On that note, I have nothing more to say, but I send you lots of love, and I'll see you in a week. Happy full moon in Aries. Namaste.